Well met. This is Founder Rune with Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to work with some third-party assets that I have put together and collected. The theme is going to be an Underdark type scenario. Right now I am working on a map that needs line of sight. The map I collected from an online source. I believe it's Angela Maps. I could be wrong. But the theme I'm using today is the Sir Mott's Magnificent Darkness, also known as the Hearth theme. Works pretty good with most of the different rule sets and for mainly DnD5e, but it also has compatibility with a lot of extensions, so that's really nice. It's kind of dark, so I wanted to use this theme so that I have the Underdark feel. Didn't want it to be too bright. The other thing is we changed the color of the dice to like this purplish color. This theme in the background is just for our Fantasy Grounds Academy, since we're kind of doing a tutorial, so to speak. So sit back for a bit, and if you have any questions, I'll check occasionally from time to time to see if you have any questions. So right now I am trying to put together an encounter that's going to take place in the Underdark. So one of the things I like to do is collect all my assets first, and if I need to make edits or changes, I'll do all that, and then I'll put it in Fantasy Grounds. So that's where I'm at that point. So if I'm in the images group and I click on this, I have things in my library that I have loaded that are themed for the Underdark. So I have like encounters in the Savage Underdark, that's from the DM's Guild. I have most of the modules that have that sort of theme to it. I have a pack here that's Underworld Mega Dungeons, magic items, treasures of the Underdark. So I have a lot of content here that is themed for this particular type of setting. I even have the Rise of the Drow. So there's a lot of different things in here, but for the most part, I'm using the core rules, and then I have some supplements loaded. I'm going to load up Rage of Demons, because I know that had some content in there. So I'm just going to search for Rage, and that's not what I was looking for. So let's go with some D&D stuff. I believe it was Rage of Demons that had the Drow and such, the Underdark. So anyways, I won't need that at the moment, but that's how you would bring up content. You can search and then bring it up. So that is just a little tip, but you don't have to have all of these different assets at one time. You can turn them on and off as you need to. So just in case you don't want to have too many things loaded. I'm going to load Rob Tui's condition and effects just in case I need to look at something. And then I will load a character or create a character too. So that's just something I do to kind of help me as I'm building. I have a few things loaded that will help inspire me, or maybe I can borrow something. Really depends on my mood and what you need. So the next step is going to be to bring up that image. So as you can see, I got all these different things here. So I want to filter to a group that I created, and I called it Underdark Maps or something like that. And I have a map, this mushroom map that I've been working on. Almost done with the terrain. So I'm going to unlock the map, and as you can see, it's got a grid on it, and I made it kind of purple, so it's themed for the actual setting. But if you want to theme your dice to look kind of like your background here, what you can do is go to the color wheel or the color section here and click on the colors. This is for changing your dice color, and then use the eyedropper and then hover it over any of the content that you want to emulate. So if you want your dice to look more like the actual background, you can do that. So let's do that. So now you see this is really dark, but I can change the font. Let me try to capture something that's a little bit more bright. See, that's green. Yeah, I don't want that green. I want something... Let's see. Trying to capture something that's a little bit lighter. There we go. And now I can change the text on there. So if I wanted to change it to white, now that's more visible, and you got like this dark purple kind of colored dice. So that's a way that you can theme your maps and your dice and such. So it kind of makes things a little bit more immersive. And you can see I've already started the line of sight, so let me unlock the map. I've got the grid down. I have these little areas in case the players want to go up on top of these surfaces. And I got couple more to do, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm in the play mode right now. I need to switch it to line of sight. And as you can see, there's my line work that I've done. Here, there's a little stone passageway. And if you have the selection tool on, if you want to make any adjustments after you've traced your lines in, you can do that. But just make sure you're on the select tool and not in a drawing tool, because it'll draw more lines. So I have all these things lined out. I'm just going to come back down here to the bottom right corner and finish up. So I just have a few more to do. And all I'm going to do is go to the line tool and click on different things. And I got to make sure that I'm in the right tool. So right now I'm in the wall tool. I want to be in the terrain tool, which is a little Christmas tree. You can see I started off in the wrong tool, which can really make things annoying. So this is just a preliminary kind of line work that I'm going to do. You don't have to be perfect. You're not trying to trace the edge like really close to the edge, because you want to see some of the features in this artwork. And if you go too close to the edge, when your players are on the map, they can't see anything but a black wall. So you want to leave some of the edge available for them to see, because until they get close to the object or they actually climb it, they're not going to see the rest of it. So it's kind of important to have some of the features showing so that they can understand what they're looking at. Otherwise, it just looks like a big blob of black shadow, and it's really uninteresting, and they're probably not going to want to engage with it at all. So do all this work and then have them not even look at it. That's not good. Okay, so to end a line, you just double click. So when you're done tracing around an object, just double click, and that gets you out of the drawing mode, or you can hit escape. One way or the other, you'll have the capability to escape out of the line drawing tool. If you don't, it'll keep drawing lines and it'll draw on top of other things that'll drive you bananas. So I'm just going to I'm on the line tool, and I'm in terrain. So this is kind of tracing through this a little bit. And all I'm doing is kind of following the contour. It's not perfect. You don't have to have an exact contour unless it's something very important to your campaign. And this is just kind of makes it more immersive to have these mushroom stalks not available to see on the very top. They can see underneath them probably, but they can't see up on top. So this is just a way to illustrate to the players that they're able to see this. So this is just a way to trace around. You don't have, like I said, you don't have to be perfect. So I'm just kind of clicking around the edge of it, see what's going on. And if you guys were watching earlier, Josh was on, and he was doing some pretty cool stuff. So if you want to learn how to use the brushes and all the fancy assets, he does that every weekend on Saturday. He did a double whammy this weekend because of Gen Con, so he was trying to show the public at large like how to use the tool and some of the capabilities that it has, which is pretty cool. It's getting a lot better. It was a lot of work to use it, and once you start practicing with it and you get comfortable with it, that's generally when things get funner and much better for you. So you also have to remember your scope. If you're only going to use this map once, I don't know how much of this is worth your time. So you have to pick your battles when it comes to using the tool, as far as I'm concerned. So that's all of the plants there. And when I go back to play mode, if I hit this, it's going to basically be blind because I don't have any players on the map. Plus, I don't have any light sources. So what I was thinking about doing is placing some purple lighting, just kind of real mild, kind of a purplish glow. So I'm going, maybe there's some glowstone or some kind of, ambient light. Maybe I'll do some green or something. So what I'm going to do is go to the lighting tool. And if you click on the sunshine, that's the ambient lighting. Right now it's set to kind of this dark color. So it has an ambient shadow color. So if I want to change that, I can. So instead of being this kind of gray color, I could change it to something a little darker. So I might add a little bit more blue to it and a touch of red. And that will give it the look. And then I'm going to turn down the opacity just a touch and hit OK. So that will help. That will help. And then we will have the shadow direction, which is what the lights would be casting shadows on it. I'm not going to mess with that. But if you go to the preset types, you can also change that. And then if you were indoor, outdoor, you can add a mask and then just exclude certain areas from the actual ambient light. Right now it's off, but if I turn it on and we go to play mode, I go to this, once we get players on the map, it will show a little bit of the glowing light. So let's go back to the line of sight tool. Another thing we could do is place token lights or just like map lights on the actual map itself. See, I left off this particular piece, this mushroom piece, because maybe it's low enough where they can see it. But if you wanted to go back and add to that, you can just go to the line of sight tool and go to terrain, go to the line tool, and then just trace around. Oops, wrong one again. Terrain tool. Okay, let's try it again. I could tell because I had the red line starting. That's not what I wanted. So this is just a preliminary way to add line of sight or the excluder to the terrain. And what this does is it limits the light to go through it until the players, maybe they get closer or they climb up on the mushrooms, but that's basically how it works. And see, I have a little blub here, so I can go back to the select mode, and I'm just going to move these back where I wanted it. Didn't panic, didn't rush over and try to fix it right away. Just kept going with the work, and then going back and adjusting if you need to. So this is just a way to kind of mitigate what you're doing. You don't have to be perfect, but this is a way that you can go back and adjust if you need to. Just make sure you're in the selection tool. That's usually what people go wrong with, is they'll forget what tool they're in. So that's something you got to get used to. All right, so that's that. I'm going to put a mist on here, just a real light one. I don't want it too heavy because then it obscures everything. So that is an effect. So if I go to the effects button on the top, and I'm going to add a layer, which is down at the bottom. So I'm going to add an effects layer. I'm already in the effects tool where that's where you select. And I'm going to go with mist, and you can see it's moving really fast. It's kind of ridiculous right now. So once I have that, I want to make sure that I make the adjustment. So I'm going to turn down the amount a little bit so it's not so heavy. And then the speed is determined on the slider. So if you go to the right or to the left, it will change direction. So if you're in the center, it'll slow down. So I'm about 47 right now. I want to go to maybe 46. It's very, very noticeable. So there's 44, 45, 46. That seems to be a pretty good. Or if you go the other side of 50, then you're going to go to the left and it'll start slower. And as you go all the way out to the left and right, it gets faster. Now there's another tool here that will blur edges, so if you have this mist that's up against another effect or something, you can blur it. So I'm just going to turn that on a little bit so it kind of fuzzes it up a little so it blends in with the map. And once you have that in place, you can go ahead and lock these, and that will keep it from moving or getting changed accidentally. So I have an effects layer sitting on top of the map, and then I have the map with the line of sight layer. Now if you want to turn off the effects layer, you can. So it's up to you. So you can turn it on or off. You can make it visible just to you or for everybody. And I'm going to turn down the amount. So I got to unlock it first. Turn that down. Now I'm going to turn it back on. It's not going to be so obnoxious. I want a subtlety to it. I don't want it to cover the map. I'm just kind of adding a little bit to the ambience. And as you can see, the entire area is covered with that stuff. So I only want it on the map. I don't need it all over the whole screen. So I'm going to add a mask, which temporarily will close it off. And then I'm going to make sure I'm on the reveal tool, and I'm just going to reveal the map area. I don't need to have that effect all over the screen. And that'll contain it to this area. So that's what you want. And then you can see I kind of missed a little bit of this area over here. So if you have to add, you can just come down here and do this. And that will make sure that you got all of it. And maybe just reveal just the very edges of the map. So there we go. So that is basically what I'm doing for that. What I want to do is grab a character or make one, and let's see what that looks like. So that is basically going to be the premise for the map. To make sure that I can get back to the map easier and I don't actually lose it, is on the top left corner in Fantasy Grounds, especially on these asset windows, you can single left click and drag down to the hotkey. So I'm in slot number 5 for this map, and I'm going to put the map where I want it to appear. So in other words, I'm not editing it right now, so I'm going to put it up in this corner and right click on it, click on view, and I'm going to click zoom to fill, or you can go view, let's see, this is zoom to fit. So that is basically the map, what it looks like zoomed in, and this is about where I want to keep it. I don't want it to be on the entire screen. Now there is an arrow key that you can click on that will incorporate it into the background, and then you can also go to a full screen. So if you really want to show this on a stream or something, especially like during a battle or something, occasionally expand that out so that it will basically be visible to your group and to the people who are watching it. So that's just a way to display this map, if you. So that's a kind of a cool feature that you can embed it or kind of partially have it part of the background if you want that. That allows for lots of different things, but it's kind of fun. Okay, so I don't know if you guys, if that music's too loud or if it's still playing or what, but I have some music in the background. It's could be a little bit loud at times, so if that's the case, let me know and I will turn it down. So that can be annoying when you're watching stream and you got this stuff cranked up, or it's too loud or not loud enough. It's more like ambient background noise. It's not really anything particular. So if you don't like it, I'll turn it off. Alright, so I'm going to build a character that's going to be themed for this particular setting. So I want to build a dwarf character, a dwarven NPC, or in this case it'll be an actual character. So I'm going to go to characters, and I'm going to use the character wizard. So I want to make sure that I have the right assets in the library, and I'm pretty sure I do. I have most of the common things. If I go to modules, I might load up Mordenkainen's and some of the other character creation books. So I'm going to search for Mord, so Mordenkainen's, and I'm going to look for the players module. There's two modules, so Go ahead and click that. And it will load this in the background, or just for the player stuff. I'm not getting all the DM stuff. And then I'm going to do Tasha's, so just do Tosh, and do load just the player module, just in case I want content from there. Sometimes it takes it a few seconds to load, so you got to be patient. Don't panic or hit escape or anything. You got to be patient. Okay, and now Xanathar's is another one. So just XAN, hit enter, and there it is. So load that. And then there's some other monstrous ones that I want to load, like Volo's Guide, because that has a lot of the creatures, like in case you want to play a goblin. So I might have a goblin character in here. I think he's going to be somebody that was captured by the drow but was released. So alright, so there's that. And I want to see if I'm missing anything from drow. Let's see, I have the collector's edition, have the map pack, player's guide. I have the Rise of the Drow campaign primer loaded just in case for more content. And I think it's not Princes of the Apocalypse, but Rage of Demons. Let's see if I can type up demons. No, that's not it. Okay. Well, anyways, so that's basically all the main core books. Oh, I forgot the Volo's Guide. That's what I wanted. So I'm going to type Volo's Guide to Monsters Players. So that's something you'll want to load if you want to play some cool sub-races. Elemental Evil is another. So Elemental Evil has the Ganassi and those sort of things, so I'm going to go ahead and load that. That should be enough. I mean, that's quite a bit of content there, so... Usually, though, you don't want to load 50,000 books, so that's just something that I'm doing for the stream, but when you're playing, actually, you don't need to have that much. So once I have that in place, I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, going to put in the character wizard. So I went to characters. I'm going to, instead of selecting a character or building it the old way, I'm going to bring up the character wizard. And I'm going to build a Dwergar, I think, dwarf. So this is the character builder. As you can see, the first thing on here is race, their stats, class, background. One nice thing about the character wizard is that you can do these in any order before you save it. So if you're going to make any changes, do that before you hit save. And you can kind of mix and match until you get something you want. So for the time being, I'm going to click on dwarf. And from here, I'm going to click Dwergar, because that's the sub-race that I want to be. And if you look here, these are the stats based off of the standard array. So this is how it's basically set up. I kind of like that, actually. It's not bad. I can roll, so we get to that. But when we get to the stats, you can roll for these. And then I get a tool proficiency. And I think with the way the Dwergar, I'm going to give him Mason's tools for stonework as his proficiency. So that's basically the racial things are satisfied. Now I'm going to go to stats. They're considered satisfied because you're already assigned the standard array. But if you use a drop down, you can do a manual entry, point buy, or dice roll. I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is, because it's actually very conducive to what I want to build. So that is basically that, and I might switch the intelligence for wisdom. So what I'm going to do is on here, if you want to swap those out, you use the arrows, and that switches the position. So he's going to have a 10 intelligence, 12 wisdom, 8 charisma. Not very charismatic, but he's got a +1 on strength, +2 on constitution. That's already calculated in. So over here on the right is the actual scores. Now I'm going to go to class. So I'm going to make him a warrior of some sort. So the Dour Destroyer looks cool. Under Terror, these are from other books. The Gem Caster, Evil High Priest is from the Dungeon Master's Guide, I believe. Same with the Anti-Paladin, I believe that's also from there. I'm going to just pick a standard fighter for now. And then it's going to ask for a couple proficiencies. So definitely want athletics and probably survival or intimidation. And intimidation sounds cool. So those are the two skill choices. When he gets to be higher level, he gets to pick a fighting style. But we'll do that shortly when it comes up. And so there we go. So that is basically his class features, and everything's over here on the right. Looks like he has languages of Common, Dwarvish, and Undercommon, and then these are all his Dwergar traits. And his proficiencies, skills, size. He has superior dark vision, so that'll be interesting to see on the map. Only has a movement of 25 because he's short, dwarven legs. And then we'll go to background. So this is the next thing. So there's some Dwergar things. There's a laborer. There's the bourgeois. These are from different books. Slave from the Underdark, or mentored by a Myconid, or lost in the Underdark. Those are background choices. Kind of want to do the Dwergar laborer and see what that gives us. So we get to choose. So I think with his skills and such, he's going to have to know some things. So perception is one, maybe. History might be another thing. So religion, possible. I think survival. I don't know why I keep going back to that, but I think survival's a good one. So he's going to have the survival. So athletics, intimidation, survival. It says to choose, so I think that is carried over incorrectly from the module it's pulling from. That's fine. We can fix that later. So race, stats, class, background. Once those are satisfied, you can click on save. But I want to do the inventory part to give him his starting equipment. So if you click on inventory at first level, you're going to get the inventory content that you need from, let's see, you're going to get any type of your class choices and your armor. So I'm going to give him chainmail, I think. Yeah, chainmail or leather. I'll just give him chainmail. He's a fighter, so. And then his class choice will be for a weapon. Let's see. Let's give him a Rune Hammer. And then he gets to pick second choice, so he's going to have a light crossbow. And he's going to have the Dungeoneer's pack. So those are the choices that he had for his class. So that is that. So those are proficiencies and his class choices that he gets at first level. Once you're done, if you don't like what you picked or if it's too many things, you can click reset. And if you want to actually buy the equipment, you can come over here and purchase equipment, especially if you forget to pick these. So there's a spells button here. And then there is a feats button if you're going to have feats. But in this case, we're not. So I'm going to hit save. But I want to give him a kind of a title for right now. So I'm just going to put Dwergar Fighter for now. I don't really have a name for him. You guys want to come up with a name? That'd be cool. Okay, so all this stuff here is what was applied. And the stat block is ready to go. For first level. I'm going to level him up to level 3, but for the time being, all this text over here on the left is basically what was added to the character. So, like I said, if you go to the Abilities tab, it has all this stuff here. And if you come over to the Skills tab, it would make something that says Choose. So, we have 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so it's telling us to choose one is what this is. So I'm going to pick something, and then I'm going to rename this and use this for something else. So I'm going to go ahead and go with history, or yeah, let's go to perception. Very perceptive young man. And this choose, I'm going to actually use this for his mason's tools. And I'm going to use this in case he has to do any crafting or any skills related to it. So that'll be wisdom, I guess. That's his mason tools, and he is proficient. You come to his abilities tab, it says mason's tools, so that's his proficient item. Let's see. So he has stone cunning, sunlight sensitivity, Dwergar magic, resilience, Dwarven resilience. So that's something that is kind of doubled up. So Dwergar resistance is similar to Dwarven resilience, excuse me. So they are fairly the same, except for you also have saving throws against illusions for being charmed and paralysis. So that's pretty cool. Here's the fighting style. We haven't picked that yet, but we definitely want to pick something. I think for this build, probably defense or great weapon fighting. I think great weapon fighting might be the key, since it's a big hammer. So great weapon fighting would be good, because if you roll a 1 or 2 on damage for an attack, you can re-roll. So that is a thing we can set in Fantasy Grounds. So I'm going to go ahead and type great weapon fighting as a choice, so I remember. And I'm just notating it on the right-hand side of the sheet. Okay, so I'll remember that as I'm building. Inventory is just going to be what you chose, so it just depends on what kind of equipment you picked. But if you want to basically organize this, you can type next to whatever here on the right and put whatever location. So if you wanted to put your hammer in your backpack, you type the word backpack next to it. And I got rid of the word empty. And then also for the food backpack, I'm going to put the rope, basically store it on the backpack, so that's what that's for. Tinderbox is going in the backpack. All his torches are going in the backpack. And water skin. So quite often people ask or say, like, well, they don't really need torches because they have dark vision or infravision. That's not always the right thing. It depends on your DM and your setting, but if you want to read anything that's printed or painted, you have to have a light source. So unless it's magical runes or maybe it's chiseled into the rock or the stone, you need to have some sort of light source in order for the text to be visible. So you might have a scroll, but you're still going to need a light source to read it. So even if you have, you know, a dark vision or such, you're not going to be able to read text. Text is printed or painted. It relies on light. It's not something that you can inherently see in the dark, unless you have true vision or devil sight or something like that. That's an exception to that. But as far as, you know, regular dark vision or infravision or whatever, you're only going to see things that have three-dimensional space, not so much or heat signatures in some case, but you're not going to see ink or chalk or charcoal or whatever they use to print. So if you have something you need to read, you're going to need at least a candle or something, some kind of light source. So I have the crossbow. Chainmail is active. I could use this basically like some sort of large weapon, basically. So I get martial weapons. I can pretty much use everything, and I can get a shield, and I can use simple weapons as well. So I might grab a few things later. So that's just the base of the character. I'm not even setting up the actions yet, but I'm going to go ahead and add the 20 pieces of ammo. I haven't even grabbed that yet, so let's do that. So I'm going to go over to the right, go to items, and I'm going to pull over a few things that I would like this character to have, because I'm going to level it up to level 3, so I might as well give him some items. So I'm going to give him, let's see, a big hammer. So let me see what it said, Rune Hammer, so let's check that out. So the Rune Hammer is it requires attunement. It has heat metal, burning hands, and polymorph. Dwergars craft these hammers from dark steel and rune casting. So each rune hammer bears a large rune on its head, which represents a spell stored in the hammer. Unlike an item such as a ring of spell storing, a rune hammer's spell is not expended when it's used, though it can only be used once per day. Rune powers common to the hammers are heat metal, burning hands, polymorph. So you can only have one of these, it looks like. Or at least it implies that. So I'm going to probably do heat metal. I think that would be cool. Thunder, these are the different runes, basically. And maybe you can scribe them on as you go. But I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop this item over to the character sheet. So just drag it over, drop it anywhere. Rune Hammer does require attunement, so I'm going to check that. And that's basically going to show up now in his inventory. But in order to use the features on it, you're going to have to code or add these spells to a sheet, and we'll do that later. But let's go to the level up part first, once we get the equipment. So I'm going to go give him a pouch. He doesn't have one. So I'm just going to go ahead and just grab him a regular pouch. There's a pouch belt too, so we can do that. So drag and drop this over. That's going to be his pouch. And in the pouch, I can store the little piton things so that they're in a little pouch area. So let's see, pouch. So there's a pouch belt. So we're going to store that in there. And then if you go to the Actions tab, you have this Rune Hammer. And I'm going to change the handedness on crossbow because it's actually two hands. Because if you read the description, it says two-handed. So you have to use two hands to use it, which means you can't use a shield. Well, this particular character doesn't really need a shield, but I'm going to give him one just in case. So, because he's going to have the great weapon fighting, so I need to get him a Maul or something. So this little hammer here is probably not something he uses all the time. So let me go with a Maul, because that's going to be his main weapon. Some kind of big, oversized club or something like that. Here we go. Here's a Maul. Might even make it +1. We'll see. So here's a Maul. It's two-handed. It's heavy. Let me type great. See if there's anything. Great. Yeah, great axe. Great club. Yeah, so there's some greater weapons here. So I think I'm going to give him a great club. Who wouldn't want that? So great axe +1. That's what he's going to get. So that is going to add to his inventory. It already has the bonus implied in there. He's proficient with it. This little star next to it. Let's take a look at his inventory. Yep, it's in his inventory. Fortunately, this does not take attunement, so we don't have to worry about that. And then I'm going to give him a shield just in case type thing, because he might use the smaller hammer and use that for his... So here's a shield. Drag and drop that on there. When you place that in there on a sheet, it automatically equips, so that's what these little icons are. I need to get the case for his bolts. And then I need to get the bolts themselves. So he needs crossbow bolts. So grab those over. And I'm going to put the case next to the crossbow bolt. So okay, let's see, where's the case at? Okay, so there's the bolts. So I'm going to type case. So they're stored in the case. And just in case, no pun intended, I'm going to give him 1 potion of healing. So there's healing, potion of healing, drag and drop that onto his sheet. So that is going to be stored in his pouch. And that will be that. So it's pretty good. He's got enough gear, I think. Be dangerous anyways. And why did that get typed there? I don't know. But okay. So there we go. So there's a shield. There's his weapons. He's got a ranged weapon. He's got a lightweight weapon that he can use with a shield, or he can use his big war club or whatever it is. So that's basically his gear. I don't think he needs too much more. So the Rune Hammer, it could be used either or, one-handed or single-handed. The Great Axe is going to be two-handed, I believe. Great Axe weapon, yeah, two-handed. So it's definitely something that he's going to have to use with both hands. So that's why I changed the handedness. But that also increases the damage too. So, but he can't use the shield, so I'll show you how to deal with that. All right, so that is basically his gear. Now I'm going to level him up. So if I go to the main tab and go to class and level, I'm going to click on this magnifying glass, or it might look like a tennis racket to you, whatever. And if you come over to the right, it will say level up. So that is what you will click on to go back to the character wizard. So if I open that up, it's going to bring me to the character wizard. All I'm going to use is this drag and drop feature, or this drop down menu. So increase level, if I click there and select 3, because I want to basically have his archetype. Now it shows up that I need a choice to be made here. So I can do Battle Master, Champion, a Rune Knight. Let's see what that's like. Yeah, I want to do the Rune Knight. That looks cool. I've never made one, so. And that should be it. So there's some Tasha options, which I'm not going to worry about, but they have them listed there. And the Rune Knight basically is new to me, so I'll find out what that's like. But once you've made your choices, you're going to hit save. And that will take care of it. So it'll add whatever it needed to for adjustments here. So that's basically the build, and I want to add a token, or a portrait in this case. So if I double click on the portrait and double click on the data folder, I'm going to look for one called FG Fantasy, which is the fantasy portraits. FG Fantasy. So it takes it about a few seconds to actually get to the point where you need it to, basically it'll do things to look for all the files. So you got to be patient with it, because it's got to go through all of them. It doesn't just go through the folder. Okay, so not a big array of dwarves, so I'm just going to pick this dwarven hero, or maybe this guy here. He looks a little bit more dour. And once you select that, this token becomes, or the portrait becomes your token. If you want a separate token, you have to ask your game master, and they can help you assign one for like a top-down view. So if you didn't want this portrait to be your token, you go to Assets, assuming you have them, and click on Tokens. You can go in and, as the game master or the host, you can go in and assign it. So if I go to my data folder, I do have tons of tokens. And I will go to this dwarf folder. I'm looking for a bald dwarf that is going to somewhat match my portrait. It doesn't have to be perfect. So these are a bunch of dwarves that I've collected over the months. So a lot of these are, in this case, these are female. So I want to take a look in here. Nope, don't see anything I want, so I'm going to go back to the data folder. And let's go to... Actually, I'm going to go back to the dwarfs, because I think I skipped over... Yeah, I didn't use the next page arrow, so that's something you got to get used to. So those are a bunch of dwarves without heads, so you can customize your own. It's a modular way of doing it, so you got all these different heads here. So I think I'm going to use this guy here, but he looks like a cleric, so I want to see if there's anyone else that looks a little more like a warrior type. Yeah, there's some in here, like there's this guy here. I was hoping to have like a matching weapon, but I don't think... Oh, here we go. There's a Dwarven Ranger. Here's a Dwarven Fighter. We'll just use this one. So if you just drag this up to the sheet and drop it, it's going to replace your portrait. So when you put your character on the combat tracker, it's going to show the token instead of the portrait. So I'm going to bring up the combat tracker and put the character on the sheet. So if I drag and drop this over, it's going to show the token instead of this portrait. And now the next step would be to put it on the map. So I'm going to take the Dwergar and put him on the map. So now with this little green thing here, he's basically connected to the map. And then if I select his character, you can see I got his gray, kind of a black and white. He's got superior dark vision, so he can see quite a ways. And you see the line of sight is kicked in here. So that's basically his token, what he can see. And if I want to look at it even more, if I, let's see, let me get rid of this. And I'm going to unlock it. There we go. So that's player vision right there. So the other view that I had is kind of like a hybrid, which is the game view. So if I turn off the player view, that's kind of a hybrid view with the character selected. If I click on him again, it deselects, and this is the Game Master view. If I click on him again, that's going to select him again, and you'll see kind of a combination of his vision along with the color vision of the Game Master view. So as the player, he's only going to see the black and white. So that's basically his vision. So that's basically what I've done is I've just take a map, put some line of sight on it, build a character. I could build several characters, not just one, but this is one character of maybe 4 or 5. So I might build a goblin character that's going to serve him some way or help the party out. Maybe he's a little rogue. I'm going to build a brawler type, or like almost like a barbarian, one of those mushroom myconid men. And then probably a drow outcast, like maybe a bard or an assassin or some kind of maybe a guide, like a ranger. I was thinking about doing a drider. So instead of making a class, or, you know, like a standard thing, I might have a drider instead, which I think would be really cool. So if I go to my assets in my library here, I'm pretty sure that a friend of mine made a drider. So let me see if I still have that, because it was already built. I won't have to do a lot of the work. So if I go to drider, yeah, Alley-Oops made it. He used to be in our community. So if I click load, that is going to load the race. So I want to see what that looks like, the actual module itself. So if I come down here and look, I click on drider, click races, and look at the description. It gives you the breakdown and about how they, basically how they came about. I wanted to see the features, because I've never built a character based on this yet. So driders that were once spellcasters might retain their ability to cast spells. So I think he was a wizard, and he was basically turned into a drider for failing his Spider Queen. Go to other. Yeah, here's all the different things that you get, the traits. So that's cool. And you can do a wizard or a failed priestess or a failed wizard. So that's where you would choose which one is which. So let's build one. This looks interesting. So I'm going to build this one the traditional way because I don't know if the character wizard can build off of this race here. So I'm going to go to the characters area, and instead of doing the wizard, I'm just going to pop up the add item, which is going to add a new blank character sheet. So this is going to be my Drider, so I'm just going to call it Drider for now. I haven't even decided what class. But the old way of doing this is basically to drag and drop. But once you do that, you don't have the ability to change anything. So I'm going to roll some dice here. So I'm going to clear this chat, and I'm going to roll some stats, because that's the first step. So I'm going to grab a 6-sided. You can grab 4 of them, drop them, and do it that way. Or there's a command where you can do /die, which means a dice roll. And then I'm going to type 4d6, so 4 6-sided dice, K3, which means to keep the highest 3. So that's a formula, and then I can drag that over to the hot slot or the hotkeys. And now that I have that, I can just click on it 6 times, and that'll generate 6 different numbers. So if you want to use these numbers, you can, or you can just do the standard array like we did with the dwarf. I think what I'm going to do is go with this. So it's going to have a 6 for charisma. Okay, nobody likes looking at this thing, so that's fine. As far as the spell casting ability has to be kind of high, so definitely want that to be at least a 14. So I will use the 14 there. The 9 I'm going to use for probably wisdom. And then the con is going to be 14 as well. And I'm going to give him a 16 for dex. And what else do we need to change? So there's an 11 for strength. Oops, changed the wrong one. So 16 dex, 11 strength. So I just manually entered those in. So I didn't have to roll or anything, just rolled here and there, and then looked at the results and just added them here, or you could drag them too, so you didn't have to manually type them in. All right, so that's just a way that you can build this character. So now I'm going to do a background. So it's probably going to be some kind of loner type thing. So right now I'm not in the character build view here. So I need to go to the options, and I need to go to the sidebar, and then I'm going to click on create PC. That way I have the right buttons over here on the right hand side. And now what I'm going to do is grab a background and see which ones I have here. So backgrounds, and I want to take a look. So this could be a hermit, an outlander, a slave from the Underdark might be a good start. Yeah, no, I don't think it's a slave. I think this individual is more maybe lost in the Underdark. Let's see. No, that's definitely not. Drow Lowborn. Yeah. Yeah, this might be something. Those 10 small cities, donut segments. Yep. Or, like I said, I can do an Outlander. That might actually work better. Yeah, so this individual was at one time a noble. I think they were outcast, and now they're basically wandering around the Underdark, and they don't really have friends or anything, but this one is allied itself with the Dwergar, so Probably has a hatred towards the other drow or something like that. So I'm just going to make it an outlander. More reclusive kind of thing. So that makes sense. So if you drag and drop that, it adds it. Now, once you're at this point, though, you can't go back. So that's why we use the character builder, because it once you add this, you'd basically have to start over if you wanted to change anything. So that's why the character wizard works good for that. So now I'm going to take the race and I'm going to drag and drop it over here and see if it actually works. Because you have a kind of a male-female choice, so I want to make sure that. Okay, yeah. So this is where the class splits or the sub race comes in. So I'm going to pick the male, which is a failed wizard, and go ahead and click OK. And what happens is you get all these different things. So he also gets superior dark vision. You go to your abilities tab, and it's got all this stuff. So web walker, natural armor, powerful build. All this stuff has to do with his race. He's got this drow magic, which is inherent to them. He's got some bonus arcane spells, so knows Toll the Dead, and Witch Bolt, and Ray of Enfeeblement at different levels. It's pretty cool. It's got a bite, so it has that. So the bite gets more powerful as you level up. Powerful build counts as one size larger when it comes to lifting, carrying, and stuff. So even though he's considered medium for the most part, he's got the web walker ability, so you can pass through webs, ignore restrictions. So he's kind of long-legged. What does that do? You have a reach of 10 feet when you use your four-limb strike. And your four-limb strike is basically like punching or using their... And so as a bonus action, you hit with the forelimb, the target takes piercing damage, 1d6 plus your strength modifier. That's pretty cool. So this is a unique kind of character build. And you have the Wanderer thing for your features. So that's kind of cool. So this is going to be some kind of arcane wizard. So I might make him a sorcerer or... Well, it's going to be a wizard, so... Wizard it is. So let's grab some kind of wizard class. I don't know what type of wizard he was in life, but we'll find out. And this might be a case where you can pick one of the subclasses as you build so it fits your character. So it depends. So I'm going to go to classes. So if you wanted to be like a fighter magic user, you could pick one of the arcane subclasses, or you can just basically throw on some special abilities is kind of what they're doing here. So I'll just gonna make him a ranger type, I think. And that's too much. I think because he's like a guide, so that might make sense. And he survived a lot on his own out in the wilderness, so that might do it. Master of the Web. What is that? Oh, it's a monk. That's kind of cool. I like that. I'd make him a monk character. Mistress of the Web is a rogue variant. Huh. Interesting. The gem caster. That's basically use gems to fuel your... Wow. It's kind of cool. I like this. It's Dower Destroyer is basically like a Dwergar type thing. Yeah. I think I'm just going to make him a wizard. Yeah. Some kind of wizard. There's a sorcerer, soul burner, stone speaker, sorcerer, warlock, wizard. Here we go. All right, so I have to pick two skills. So definitely Arcana, and the other. Let me see if he has anything first. So if I go to his skills tab, what does he already have? He already has athletics and perception. So Arcana and history probably are the best. He remembers a lot of things that happened to him. So that's basically his first level. So to level up the old traditional way is you can redrag the link for the wizard. So I'm just going to drag and drop this back in. At second level, I get to pick the school of magic. So war magic might be something. Yeah, so this is a wizard of war. So this was what he was before he failed his noble house or something like that. So war wizard, or I can do necromancy, which I don't think is right. Evocation is another one. I'm going to do war magic. It's really cool. So that's his specialty, basically, and then I'm going to level him up once more to level 3. Okay, so that is basically the character and the base part of it. Now it's just customizing. So you got all this stuff, and then you have all this Drider stuff too. So that is crazy. So this, you get cantrip formulas added to, yeah, so these are all different things that are added. So you get one musical instrument, and then you're able to use darts, staffs, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows. He gets one language of choice, so definitely going to be Drow, I think. Is that a language? I don't think so. It's undercommon. So I'm going to give him Dwarvish. Actually, no, I'm going to give him Goblin, because he's going to be friends with the little goblin, so he can speak to goblins. That's cool. So this guy isn't much of a speaker. He's kind of a loner kind of thing, so he's not a good player character. I think more of a good supporting character, unless someone knows how to play it very well. So that's kind of cool. So it was a Drider character. So now we could pick a portrait. So I'm just going to double click and choose something that's as close as I can get in the fantasy portrait area. And that's not what I wanted, but these would work. These Drow ones would be kind of cool. But I'm not going to use that. I want to use the Fantasy Grounds FG Fantasy, not the Fantasy Grounds. These are the older ones. So I want to go FG Fantasy. There we go. Anybody have a name for him? Bonus points for that. So I'm waiting for the portraits to load up. Kind of got an interesting party here. We got a Dwergar fighter, and we're gonna have a Drider wizard. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick this dark elf here, even though it may not be right, but that'll give him that part. But then for his body, I will use the asset that I had earlier. So if I go to my tokens folder and I go to data, and then I can go to let's take a look at the Drow, let's see what's in the Drow folder. Yeah, so these are a bunch of Drow, but I don't know or remember if the Driders are in here or not. So we'll find out. Yeah, so I need to go to a folder that's like Underdark. So if I go back to the data folder and look under U, here's the Underdark Denizens. Here's Underdark. So let's see what's in here. Yeah, so here's the token. So I'm going to drag and drop that in here. And there we go. So that's his token, and that is his portrait. For skills, that's pretty much set, but I'm going to add the musical instrument. So I think he plays that once in a while when he's in a bad mood or something, or maybe he uses it for his magic. So hit the edit list and click the green plus button, and I'm going to add instrument. Maybe it's a little hand drum. He uses it to track things in the Underdark. So I'm going to make that dexterity based. That's his hand drum instrument. So here's his spell slots. And I haven't given him any inventory yet, so let's see what we can do. Doesn't need a lot because he's got, let's see, what's his natural armor class? So his AC is 13. So 3 from Dex. Let me see what this natural armor gives him. So natural armor says you have armor class equals 10 plus your Dex modifier plus your con. You can use a shield also and still gain the benefit. So con modifier for this guy or person is, wow, +3. So that adds another 3 points to his armor class. So if I go to AC, I'm just going to type in the miscellaneous column a 3 there because it's not coded. So we don't, or we could make a code out of it, but I think it's better to do it there. That gives him a 16 now. And let's see, there's a spell slot. So I'm going to give him some weapons here and things for his inventory. So I'm going to come over to items. Might as well grab him a potion of healing since I have it up here. I'll give him a couple of those. So potion of healing. You can drag it over twice, or you can just change the number, the inventory. Nothing prevents the players from doing that, so it's all an honor system. Fantasy Grounds rarely limits you on anything. It's more of an honor system than anything else. So, okay, so he's got 2 potions. I think I'm going to give him a light crossbow or a hand crossbow. There we go, because that's kind of what Drow use, and it makes more sense for his build. So here's his hand crossbow. Drag and drop that. Doesn't have much range, but it's smaller and he can use his other hand for casting. And then I'm going to do the bolts. So his crossbow bolts. And I'm going to give him poison too, because he basically makes his own poison with his saliva or something like that. So drow poison, here we go. So I'll just use something like that. Drag and drop that over here. And what this does is I think it's an injury poison. It also makes you unconscious if you fail your save. So we'll have to code that, but that's pretty cool. So he has a way to create his poisons, but he does it naturally. He doesn't need to have the kit and all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and look at, let's see, drow poison. Open that up. That should weigh at least half a pound, so I'll put a weight in there. You always got to have some sort of weight. And then we're going to have the, let's see. So does he have a poison? So his bite is, let's see, it does 1d4 plus your strength. Oh yeah, so there's the venomous 2d4. So he can make his own. So if he wants to coat the, kind of lick or extrude the poison and put it on his weapons or something like that, I think that would work too. So that's why I gave him the drow poison. So he doesn't really need to have it, but that's just the stats of it, I guess. Okay, so I think doesn't really need robes or anything like that. So he's got his ammo. Oh, I want to give him the case. So his case is going to be for the crossbow bolts. I'm going to give him a pouch. So he's going to have a regular pouch, and then he's going to have his component pouch for his spell focus. That's basically what he has. And then he has a, let's see, silk pouch? No, we're not going to have that. So that's basically what he has. He doesn't have any armor. It's all natural. Think of what else he might. Some kind of melee weapon. Maybe a staff, quarterstaff. Because he usually uses his natural weapons, so he doesn't really need Yeah, I don't think he even needs a staff, but I'm going to give him one. Let's see, what else is he proficient with? I might want more missile type weapons. So it says in his abilities area, or under his skills area, let's see, he gets darts, dagger, quarterstaff, light crossbow, and slings. I'm going to give him some darts. So darts, there we go. So I'm going to give him some of those. So dart. And then I think I'm going to give him, at least 10 of those. Okay, so there's his dart, crossbow bolts, and then there's, okay, so he has darts and he has the hand crossbow for more range. Darts do a little bit more damage, and they're probably shorter range or similar. So I'm going to go ahead and put the hand crossbow and the darts for the ammunition. So he can use either of those with his poison with the drow poison to coat him and make them effectively poison from a range. So that's pretty cool. All right, so he doesn't need a lot more. I'm going to give him a backpack and just a few basic items. He doesn't need a ton of things. So just as a pack that he can carry his stuff in. So it's just going to be a regular backpack. And then I'm going to give him some water. So he's going to have a water skin. I'm going to give him some rations. This has a little bit of food. I think he mostly hunts for his food, but I'm just going to give him a way to track his food. So I'll just give him 5 days worth of food at the most. And then not too much else in his kit there. I don't think he needs a lot because he's... Oh, spellbook. Need that. And some candles. Spellbook and candles so he can read. So there's his candles. And I'll give him 5 of those. Or 10 candles, so you can carry it. So that's what he has. He just has some basic gear. And I'm going to place some of this stuff in his backpack. So it's organized. So that is basically what he has. He's got some weapons, he's got his backpack, a few things, stuff that's related to his spell casting. It's pretty much all he needs. I might give him a insignia, which would be something that, yeah, so he has a drow house insignia of Menza Baranzan. Does it have any magic? Yeah, I don't think I would give him that. Let me try a house insignia. Yeah, that's got too much stuff. So maybe just a rank insignia. No. Insignia. It's just some kind of trinket. Let me look at those. So symbol. Scroll of symbol, quarterstaff with holy symbol, symbol of Demogorg. I don't think so. Anyhow, he just has something that identifies him with a previous house. So that's just a matter of role play. So I can make that item actually, but I'm not going to do that right now. So there we go. There's his stuff. Notes. We can add that. So definitely going to be male because that's the path he chose. I'm going to make him neutral evil. I don't see him being chaotic evil. Probably more lawful than anything, but more true to himself. Doesn't worship Lilith, so he doesn't have a deity anymore. Maybe he recognizes her, but he doesn't worship her. So he's pretty, I would say, aggravated with them. So I'm gonna give him some of his spells, probably. Just maybe that's probably the only thing I really have to do. Yeah, so that's basically his build. So he has a war magic. So if I go to spells, let's see. I'm going to change to his 0 level cantrips, and then source is going to be so wizard. Okay, so let's do that. So I want to have firebolt, and if you go to his class description, which is on the class and level area, and if you open up the shortcut for the wizard, you'll be able to read the table and what he gets at what levels and that sort of thing. So if you come down towards the bottom or halfway down, you can see your cantrips known. So at level 3, he gets 3 cantrips. So I'm going to give him firebolt for 1. So we'll drag and drop that over here. He's also going to get, I like infestation. So he's going, if someone bothers him, he can just drag and drop the infestation. It basically hinders and bites people. So I like that. So it's going to be, it's a living flea, mites, parasites. Yeah. So he can cast that. It just really messes with people. Might do that. He gets Toll of the Dead for free for reading that. I don't remember which level. So definitely want to give him Mage Hand. And probably, it's already got Firebolt, so you look at this. I want to give him more utility too. So he has, here's a Blade Ward. That might, I don't see him doing that though. He doesn't seem like a wimpy type that would want that. So probably Infestation would be good. So that's basically his cantrips. I think he gets some bonus spells. I have to look at that later. But that's basically his cantrips. And then you'd filter this to level 1, of course. Now I want to look at his abilities because I know he gets a bunch of additional ones. So additional wizard spells, Arcane Deflection, Arcane Recovery, Arcane Tradition. That's the school, basically. Spell Casting, Tactical Wit. So it allows you to act quickly in battle. You can give yourself a bonus to your initiative rolls equal to your intelligence modifier. That's cool. War Magic. Okay, so yeah, so those are the things that he gets for War Magic. That's pretty cool. Bonus spells. So bonus arcane spells for his trait. So this is a racial trait. So he gets Toll of the Dead when he reaches 3rd level, and you can use Witch Bolt per rest. When you reach 5th level, okay, so this is basically his racial things that he gets, plus he's bonus arcane type thing because of his path. So what I'm going to do is just drag them over. I'm not going to worry about, but they always have to be prepared, I guess. There's a way or maybe these are just extra spells in a spell book. So I'm going to definitely drag these over. So it probably doesn't take away from the idea that he has to. This is unable to. Okay. Yep. So let me go to unfilter. Toll. There's Toll of the Dead from Xanathar's. So drag and drop that over. And then we also get Witch Bolt. So that's a 1st level. Alright, so that's, see. We might have to put those in with the rest, so we'll have to look at that later. But I just did it for now, so I don't pick those again. And I'm going to go to back to level 1. Get rid of that. Give him a couple spells out of here. So, and Tech Magic, Disguise Self. That's Thunder Wave. Sounds like a good one. And then I'm going to give him, see if there's anything else that I might want. And let's see. Grease. Yes, that's one of my favorite spells. So he definitely has that in his arsenal. And then we have, let's see, we got those 3. Mage Armor for sure. And let's do a couple second level. So switch to second. Now let's see. Give him Flaming Sphere as one of the spells. Pretty nasty. And then one other. Locate Object, Levitate, Misty Step, Scorching Ray. Web, I don't think he needs that. See Invisibility, Shadow Blade, Spider Climb, Suggestion, I think is what I'm going to give. Suggestion can be pretty suggestive. Be pretty useful for situations. So he's got a couple utility spells. So that's his main spells. I think that's good enough for now. So that's what he has in his spell book, basically. And then he can prepare whatever they say for his level. Give him one more first level. Let's see. So, Witchbolt, Unseen Servant might be cool. Chromatic, Cause Fear. Comprehend Languages would be pretty cool, actually. Fog Cloud. Find Familiar, Featherfall. Hideous Laughter. Shield. Definitely want Shield. There we go. So that's pretty good. He's got a pretty good array of battle spells. And a couple utility. So he's ready for war, basically. So once we get to that point, then we can put him on the combat tracker. And then here's his token. And I'm going to make it bigger because he is kind of big. So this would be like his token. It's pretty cool. Looks good. And then there's the fighter. Alright, so I think that's good enough. I think I've rambled quite a bit. So if you guys need any help from Fantasy Grounds Academy, you know what to do. Follow us. We're also all over the web. We have, just look up Fantasy Grounds Academy. We're pretty much rebranding from the academy to college. So if you guys want to get in on some lessons, or just ask questions or get some live help, join our Discord. It's in the links. I'll see you guys around. Have a good day.